My parents are divorced. Some people consider it, in the Arab world, it's like, I don't talk about it, ما بتستحي, like you don't respect your family for this, like. And so for me, I talked about it so much that I kind of desensitized myself from the situation, which used to be a problem for me when I was a kid. And like, whether or not I'm over it, I seem to be okay with it. I seem to be able to make a joke out of it. And I think like that's the whole point of comedy. It's taking things that you don't really want to talk about and talking about them. So I've always wanted to, if I can't do that on a large scale, at least I'll do it on a small scale. So I always said if at least one person likes my videos, I did something well.
Shawn, كيفك?
Alhamdulillah.
Good?
Alive and well.
طيب, first question.
Yes.
Why did you shave your hair?
I just woke up one morning. End of story.
بس هيك.
That's hick. I woke up, there was a piece of hair on my face, and I was like, no more.
Yeah?
Yeah. My friend shaved my head for me.
Okay, that's easy.
Yeah.
بس يعني
I'm very impulsive. I'm very impulsive. Buying, doing any, like if you tell me something, well, I feel like it's the right move, I'll do it immediately. Very, very impulsive.
طب, do you regret?
No.
Not the hair, in general.
No, zero regrets. This you can't regret. If you regret, you get stuck living in a time that doesn't exist anymore, and it weighs you down. It's like a heavy anchor, and you're trying to move your ship, and it keeps dragging with you. Now, I can't say I don't look back in my life and say I would have made rather better decisions in some situations, but the key to that is learning what you should have done, but not attaching to the fact that you didn't do it. So I look back often and I think, okay, everything. And I think that's the key to not holding on to your past, which I used to have a problem with.
Did you use shower gel or shampoo? That's shout out to Fahad.
I used the shower gel.
Okay. So
Yeah.
no.
Actually, no, sorry, shampoo. But I used like a little bit,
just a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah, but talking about regrets, it's always better to take the decision, even if it's wrong. The regret is much less than not taking the decision, not going into something. Like the regret would be much stronger or harder when you don't take a decision for the right things.
100%.
You will regret more. But if you do something and it ends up that it's wrong, it's wrong. You're just like, okay, I did it. It didn't work. But at least I don't have regret.
Did you make any decision that changed your life entirely?
Oof.
Is there one turning point in your life that you can say this changed everything, or do you think it was a series of steps that changed your life?
There are some positive decisions that I took and changed my life, and there are some like wrong decisions that I took and also dramatically changed my life. Yeah.
Do you want to share any of them?
The podcast is with me. One of them is the marriage. So when you get married or divorced, and speaking of that,
Specialist.
I'm gonna pass it to you.
Just put it up here.
Yeah, exactly.
My parents are divorced.
My parents are divorced.
Yeah.
So obviously, your parents are divorced. It's not a name.
Tragically.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people is gonna ask, why did you choose this name? But obviously, that's the.
I get the question a lot. So the first question is, are your parents really divorced? And I understand, because it's like sometimes when you meet someone, you don't know what's the icebreaker, you don't know what's the first word you should say. But then, like, it's the simplest answer, right? Like, why would I put it otherwise? But it could be funny if they weren't divorced and it was the name I would, but I don't think it fit what I. But my old name on Instagram, which no one really knows, and I've said it many times, and still, like, because media gets lost in the ever consuming and growing black hole of consumption. The podcast, the page was called Laughing in Arabic. The idea was to take Western humor and make it digestible for this side of the world. Because there's some things in America that just don't make sense here. Like, there's a content creator, his name is Casey Frey. Now, there's a lot of people who love him here, but in the earlier days, he does these videos where he doesn't make sense. He just dances and he's like talking to someone. It's like a very weird content, but I used to love it. And I thought, how could, like, Arabs are not going to laugh at this. They're going to be like, what's this guy doing? Like, so I said, okay, my goal in life would be to make everyone laugh regardless of wherever they come from. So I thought, okay, laughing in Arabic, that was the idea. And then one morning I saw the Instagram had an update, and they had the new button that said like edit profile, and it was like at the bottom before you had to go in the settings. And I just pressed edit and I removed the name, and the first thing that came to my head was my parents are divorced. So I typed it in and I saved it and I changed my picture, and you don't get any updates, right, when you change a name on Instagram. But literally 2-3 people message me within the same couple of minutes. They're like, oh my God, I love this name. I just followed you from this name. I was like, how did you find me? What do you mean you found me with this name? Like, and it just, I got so much, what's it called? Not recognition, not acceptance. What's that word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Like affirmation. Like oh yeah,
approval.
Approval. I got approval from a lot of people that like this was a good thing. So I guess, but I didn't care because this joke, I had been making it for a very long time. Like there was a New Year's countdown a couple of years ago, actually, maybe 7 years ago. And when we finished that, you know, we're standing over in my friend's house in the Palm and we're looking for the fireworks and everyone's like 3, 2, 1. And when they hit 1, I just shouted my parents are divorced as a joke. And like one guy turned and he's like, bro, what? He's like, well, why would you come from? Like, why would you do this?
Yeah.
But I used to make that joke all the time. Like if I say, pass me the water and you don't listen to me, I'm like, why? Is my parents divorced?
Yes.
Are you? So it became like a little joke between me and my friends. And then it just, I think, seeded itself. And that's how the name kind of like came just by me changing it. I didn't even think about it. And then so many people like the name that I was like, all right, I'll just keep it, I guess.
It's amazing because it relates with many people, even if their parents are not divorced. It just relates that, okay, this guy is humorous and actually he's expressing himself as well. So it's just like showing this vulnerability and that's part of comedy actually, which is like you're digging inside and taking what you feel about and saying it to people. And it's a background that, you know, that's my background and I'm not shy about it. I want to talk about it and I want to put it into something positive to life. So that's why people will like it. I mean, it's great, you know, you're expressing yourself, you're telling your emotions, your problems and
and people aren't very vulnerable these days. Well, everyone is actually, but the expression is very like withheld, right? So I want to just it's not like a goal, I'm just doing it, but I want to do what is against the grain and not in a negative way. Like it's a very simple thing. Like my parents are divorced. Some people consider it, you know, in the Arab world, it's like I don't talk about it. Like you don't respect your family for this. Like, so I got a lot of messages from people saying like, this is very disrespectful. You should not put your family business out on the internet. And you know, I don't get upset. I don't have any opinion on it because that's their perception. Their life is built on that. My perception is different. And so for me, I talked about it so much that I kind of desensitized myself from the situation, which used to be a problem for me when I was a kid. And some people used to say like, if that's your whole identity, that means you're still not over it. And I'm like, great, where did you get your degree? I'm so happy for you. You diagnosed it. And like whether or not I'm over it, I seem to be okay with it. You know, I seem to be able to make a joke out of it. And I think like that's the whole point of comedy. It's taking things that you don't really want to talk about and talking about them. And you don't necessarily need to make it funny, but simply just addressing something that's a little bit taboo or intimate. People are already like on the edge. And you can either make them laugh, make them cry, or make them angry. That line is not really a line. It's like a balance beam, and you can fall in any direction. I chose the direction of comedy because I thought it's the only way to heal, at least for me. So I kind of forgot how we got here, but that's so people get very like sensitive with these things, and but that's the thing. Like you should show your true self no matter what, and it's dangerous because the internet is a very vicious place, and when you're exposed, you're kind of like opening yourself up. And most people show love. Majority of people show love. That 1% who shows you hate hits the hardest, right? Like you can have, for example, like I generally try not to read the comments and messages too much because like I just want to make content, and like whoever's happy is happy, who's not happy, don't look at it, you know. I could see maybe 100 comments when I used to make like content earlier, like in 5-6 years ago. I would read all the comments and like all of them and try to respond to them, and they'd be like, aha, this is funny, this is good, this is good, this is good. Then one person would be like, this is cringe, or I don't like this, or you should stop doing it, or like, whatever. It's a hate comment. And then it's in a layer of 100, and just that one comment, it gets me. And then I watched the podcast with Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle, two comedy giants. Dave Chappelle is the giant, and even Dave Chappelle was like, I do not read a single comment on any of my videos. I don't read comments. I don't talk to people about my comedy. I don't need that. Like, I don't need that mental.
No way.
He's like,
and even Dave Chappelle, this might affect him or insecurity somehow.
Yes,
and he's the god of comedy.
He's literally like, he's built the foundations of what most comedians hope they could ever achieve, like even 1% of it. So if Dave Chappelle's not reading comments, who am I to read comments? You know, but props to Fahad. Fahad will read every comment. If there's 4,000 comments, he's reading 4,000 comments. and he'll like analyze them and come back to me, and he'll be like, okay, bro, so this is the
we
feedback.
need to change.
He's like, yeah, he's a machine. Fahad.
Yeah.
He's a machine.
Oh my God, I love this guy.
Yeah.
Should get him.
You should definitely.
Yeah, when I was telling my son, because he loves you so much, and I was telling my son, hey, I'm interviewing. He didn't hear the word interviewing. My parents are divorced. I said, really? Now? It's like, now they are. So no. You know, my parents are divorced, Shawn.
That's my favorite thing, by the way. When people say my name and they think that they're like, I just had a meeting yesterday. And one guy was like saying he was going to bring me in for like a campaign. And he's like, oh, by the way, do you know my parents are divorced? and he's a senior guy. And the guy who was working with him in his team, he thought he was opening up to him.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, mine are too, if you need to talk about it. And he's like, no. Like the guy who does like comedy. Yeah. And that's my favorite thing. The amount of stories of people telling me that people got confused. That genuinely makes me so happy, because it's like you created it. It's like a stock. You invested in it and it's just growing. Like, so.
Yes. But Shawn, you said like people are afraid to be vulnerable. I agree with you, but it's becoming like much more like people are opening more. They are getting used to, I mean, if you, my generation, we were zero vulnerable.
Of course.
You know, we couldn't express.
You weren't
anything.
allowed to.
No.
At all.
It was like totally wrong. Anything talking about mental health, talking like, I don't like this thing, expressing yourself. It was much harder.
100%. And because of that, so you guys had almost zero. Like, what are you crying about? Like, you know, you have a house, or what are you crying? Panadol or like tea? You know, this is it. This generation is overly emotional, so there's no counterbalance. You know, we need to find equilibrium, because my generation now, the water spills on is like PTSD. Everyone is hypersensitive because they've been given so many tools, but they haven't been shown how to use them. So they're using a drill for something that needs a small screw. They're using a hammer for something that needs a cloth. You know, like it's your generation was not allowed to express. Our generation was like, express everything, and then it's put everyone in such extreme sides. So you have like people on every case that there's so many people in the middle, but the people who get attention are obviously the left and the right. But the people in the middle, who are a massive amount, and this is what I consider as my following. I think the people who follow me are the middle people, the people who can take a good joke. They are sensitive in a sense that they can humanize, they can identify when someone's just being, you know, just trying to have fun, but they also know when there's like a line to be crossed, you know. And I think the people who follow me consistently, not the people who follow and unfollow, and because, you know, if you look at that, it's like thousands of unfollows a day. You find that the middle people are generally the ones that you want to connect to. So I've rarely met anyone who recognized me who I didn't get along with. And this is the thing I love the most. It's like I put myself out in the world and people will choose to come to you, which is a very vulnerable thing, right? Because I've been doing this since 2016, and no one knows. Everyone thinks it's like, oh yeah, he just started in January, February. I started following. One girl yesterday was like, I followed you since the beginning. I'm like, no. She's like, yeah, when you had nothing. I was like, really? I was like, when? She's like, January. I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this for like 7 years. What do you mean? Like, I thought you were talking about like 300 followers. Like, I remember I screenshotted every time I got a 100 batch. Like when I got my first 100, I screenshotted 300, I screenshotted 400, I screenshotted. So I decided to create content for the sole reason of like reliving a childhood goal I always had. I grew up with my dad not really in the picture as much. My mom was working 2 jobs, so there was no one at home to like, you know, when I had my shit from school or I had problems, there was no one there to address it. So the only way I could deal with it by watching videos and enjoy. So YouTube opened up in like 2006, 2007, and I started watching YouTube videos. And then it started to become more like content creators that would make gaming videos, movie reviews, these stuff. And that literally saved my life. Like I didn't know, you know, still like in the 90s, depression wasn't really a huge discussion in the Middle East, at least. So growing up with that, like, again, you also weren't really addressing a lot of the things that were happening to you. So content essentially saved my life. Like it made me not consider hurting myself. It made me consider just enjoying it, like having like cornflakes and milk and watching the thing, you know, until it's nighttime, you sleep, and then you forgot your problem and the day starts again. So I've always wanted to, if I can't do that on a large scale, at least I'll do it on a small scale. So I always said if at least one person likes my videos, I did something well. And a few people share very intimate messages with me about suicide, about friends who have passed away, about parents who have passed away, about just maybe even just a bad day at work. And they said that you made my day. I try to go through my DMs so I can see these messages, but now it's a little bit hectic. but these are the milestones of my life, like impacting one person around you, because when you make one person happy, they're gonna make someone else happy, and there's enough people making other people upset, so that needs to counter itself as well. So that's what I try to do now. I know that I'm still not secure enough to maybe go through everything or review my life entirely, but that awareness of my insecurity or that awareness of my lack of strength allows me to know, okay, this is the problem, what's the solution? I can't find the solution yet, what's the workaround? The workaround is post and leave. Someone will like it. If they like it, they like it. They don't, they don't. And I don't try to force my content on anyone. I don't promote it. I don't do sponsored ads. Like I don't try to push my content. Even now when I do brand deals, unless it's really, really necessary, I'll do it as paid, but I will always advise against it, because I don't want to be that guy who's just like plastered everywhere because people paid to do that. You know, I don't want to be that. I want people to know me for me, whether they like me or not. That's, again, as I grow older, I tend to care less about when someone likes me, unless it's a valid point. Like if I, punch the baby in the face and they're like, that's an asshole move, I'll be like, fine. I get it, but
Yeah.
I try not to punch babies and I try to just because, again, why'd you make content? You want to make people laugh, like whether it's to heal something within you, or it's to heal something for someone else, or to just create a small space of happiness in a world of anger and violence and war and when I say war, I don't mean like not the war that people know, the war within social lives, the war within offices where people are, they talk shit about each other, and then they go and they have dinner together, and then they get angry with their boss, and then they go with their boss and like, oh, hey buddy, I miss you.
Yeah.
And then they don't like each other, and then they like each other out of the office, but in the office,
Toxic environment.
Yeah, this is everywhere. So it's the war in our social lives, even with friends, like, I hate her, I hate him, and then these two hook up together, then there's like, oh, that's my ex, and like there's so much unnecessary weight, and I'm a bit of a reclusive person, so people think I'm outgoing, and when they meet me, they're like, you're not as hyper as I thought. I'm like, that's your perception. Obviously in the videos you're gonna see 60 seconds of me being an idiot, of course. Like you're gonna think I'm gonna be hyper, but I try to stay a little bit away from that, because I don't have the emotional capacity to deal with it anymore. Like there's enough in my life that has my plate full. So if you want to make a problem with me because of someone said something and you thought I said it, go. Like, okay, I said it, fine, leave. Like if that's your qualifications to check how someone lives around you, leave. Like social issues have no space for someone who has a purpose, and I consider my purpose, as much as it is to heal myself, to heal the people around me as they've healed me in the way. Like if I make you laugh, there's some sort of affirmation that is making me feel better. Whether you call it insecurity or you call it achieving a goal, it doesn't matter for me. In the end of the day, you happy, me happy, we're both happy, end of story. The more you read into it, the more you'll find the problem. Like, okay, so if you're making him laugh, doesn't that mean that you're lacking happiness? Yeah, yes, everyone's lacking happiness, but it's a balance, it's a wave. Sometimes you're down, sometimes you're up. And I think people have gotten too much information. We're not built. The phones we have, the tech we have, I'm not going to say it's a mistake, because I think everything is with design, but the brain is not fast enough to take all this information. And now you can get your phone out and Google someone who is a professional stitcher in Scandinavia, and they'll have the world record for why do you need to know that? But you have it. You have the information it's crazy. So I think it's not poison, but the story of Adam and Eve and Apple and the truth. We sought the truth and we found it, and we can't look at it. So we disguise it with media and food and drugs and alcohol and lies. We looked for the truth, we found it, and no one wants to see it anymore. So sometimes comedy brings people to their reality, and that's what I love. I love that comedy is real. It's raw, it's in your face, and you have to accept it. Because even if you reject it mentally, you heard it, which means it's already in your head. It's like a song, it's if once you hear it, you know it at least. So that's why I think comedy is probably it's not maybe the greatest art form, but for me it is. In people's mind it might not be, but for me there's nothing greater than what comedy can do for a whole, because it brings, when you make someone laugh, you disarm them. Art, you can, like me and you can look at a piece of art together and be like, yeah, I love it, we both agree. And then you might move my elbow and I'll be like, bro, get out of my space, and you get out. But if I make you laugh, you'll slap my knee, I'll slap your arm. Like,
Yeah.
You're disarmed, finished. Like, there's no conflict. There's no, laughing changes everything.
Yes, we go. I mean, that's the aim of it, and that's also the intention that you had since you were young. And when you started, you wanted to make your mother laugh.
Yeah.
And I heard that, and I was like, okay, my God, that's so strong, and that's something that gives me. One is how much a child, a son, can do. Like, he wants to help his mom, and the only way he found is, okay, what I'm good at. I need my tools, the tools that I have. Okay, maybe I've been watching these YouTubes and get, I don't know if I'm a comedian. You didn't know that you're a comedian.
Of course not.
And you use that to make your mom laugh. And now you're using it also to make people laugh, or make people laugh meaning that you want to make people happy.
Yeah.
And tell me more, and when did you really wanted to make your mother laugh?
It was literally just any day she came home from work. It was always late because she was doing a lot. But it's a particular day that she was in the kitchen, and I remember I had been watching Mind Your Language, this old show, and there was a character with a really good Indian accent, like nice, like strong one. And I remember repeating a few phrases, and it wasn't. She didn't even laugh the first time. She just smiled. But my mom she smiles like this. That's how my mom smiles.
Resting face.
She has like a resting bitch face, like this. She's always like this. But when she smiles, her whole face changes. It's like you cracked like ice and it's exposing the mountain, So I remember she was turning this way and she was doing something on the kitchen counter, and I don't remember what I said, but I said something in an accent, and she turned to me and she's like, "What did you say?" And I repeated it, and I just saw her, like, she didn't really smile. She kind of like smirked a little bit, like, okay, she wanted to finish this and then come back to me later. And seeing that, like, her whole face kind of like the frown just cracked, and she like lightened up a little bit. When you see, like, obviously when you're a single parent, there's a lot of stress on the relationship with your kids, especially when you're working, you come home, and me, I have every D and A you want to put together, ADHD, DAH, DHL, anything you want, I have it. So I could never focus. So she comes home, she's obviously expecting me to finish homework. What am I doing? I'm playing with my toy soldiers or my PlayStation 1, whatever. I'm doing something. So she comes home, and there was always a lot of anger between us. But it's your mother, right? So you have such a strong emotional connection. So I would be afraid of her, but at the same time, I always wanted to like mess around with her to see like what I can do and get away with. Kids are naturally curious. So that relationship between my mother and I, always like having these fights, but it was never as a kid I'm like, oh, you hate me, this is why you do this. But obviously as I got older, I'm like, she was just being my mom. But I always thought, I want her to like me. Why does she hate me? Obviously she doesn't hate me. It became first from me making her laugh because I wanted her to laugh for me, into I would see she was sad and I just wanted to make her laugh so she can laugh. And it didn't really work. It started to work when she would bring her friends over and she'd be like, Shawn, تعال هون, تعال. فرجيهم عمل الهندي. So I would do this like little show and tell for her friends. And I would be so shy. Like, she would have to tell me 5, 6, 7 times before I finally did it. And again, that's the case now. Before I do stand-up, I organize the show. And I tell her like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna do the show, and then I'm like, I'm gonna cancel. I don't feel good. She's like, no, Habib, come. And then she brings her friends. Look, he's gonna do a show, and then it's the same thing. It's like that inner child who never like really got over the barrier.
But Shawn, tell me, what did you feel? Did you feel like, okay, you found yourself, or it's something that you just giving back to your mom? What was the feeling when she laughed about your joke, or when you felt like, okay, I can make my mom laugh?
It was just to change the energy in the house. Like, it was just to change her. Like, when you see someone walking with the storm over their head, that was my mom. Like, she walks forward, the storm follows her. Like, every problem that could happen always happened to her. And so I never blamed her for anything, but she went through a lot, and that always carried around her. She never carried it. You would never see it. She always walked like chin high, head straight, shoulders back, and always forward. But as a child, you're very susceptible to energy, you know, so you feel that something's not right, even if nothing's being said. But as a kid, you don't know what's going on. So I just felt like something wasn't right with her, and all I wanted to do was understand, number one, what's wrong. But again, I couldn't understand even if she explained it to me. And how can I change that? It wasn't like I had no idea. Again, I can't even put myself back in that mindset, because if I do, I put myself back in the mindset of the pain, the fear, the struggle. So I try not to look back too much. So I struggle with certain memories, but there are milestones for me, and this is one of the milestones. So I can't tell you what my intention was back then, but all I know is that I saw dark colors around her. I wanted to make them light colors. As a kid playing with crayons, like that's how I saw things. It's either dark colors or bright colors, and I wanted her to be a bright color because that's what she has from inside. But I felt her outside was covered by like the gray storm. So
how old were you?
Just around when you can really like start speaking and imitating. So it must have been in 6, 7.
Oh, that's very young.
Yeah, but that's when you like you hear stuff and you start to like, you know. And I remember when I was around 10, that's when it really like I started to hear like different accents. I could differentiate between accents. Like I could identify like what is what, and then by I think 12, 13, that really like kicked it off. Like then I started like, okay, in my friend group we had one of my friends who was Filipino, one of my friends was Indian, one of my friends was Iranian, 2 guys were Egyptian, 1 guy was Somali.
The very obvious, your friend.
Yeah.
Very obvious.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
it shows in your comedy.
Yeah, and so it was a diverse group, and you know, going to school with them, you hear them. It's not them that you actually get the accent from; it's their family.
Their family.
When you go to their house, you hear it, because that's raw.
Yeah,
the mother's not going to change her accent for you. It's her house, you know. So when I went to my friend's house, who was Iranian, his mother would even speak Farsi to us, and like I don't actually. She would say something Farsi. I'm like, what does she? He's like, take the track, put outside. Okay, take that one, put there. I'm like, okay. So you hear it a lot, and then
yeah, I find it a lot. I don't know why with Italian. You go to their website, and then press for English, and you press English, and still Italian.
It's Italian.
It's like I don't know why they don't get it. Like we don't speak Italian. It's like
Italians are one of the few people, and I think maybe French, who refuse to speak English. Like you speak to them in English, and they're like, why?
And they assume that you understand. Like no.
Also, I think a lot of people from the Mediterranean, when you go to Italy, they think you're Italian as well. So there's a similar look, you know, the color, the hair, the mannerism is very similar.
And we like, I don't know if it's only Arab but we like to put an accent on English.
We love it.
When we go to Italy, we start putting Italian accent to them. It's like, I don't know.
And I think it's a natural. But that's our. It's a human's natural approach to trying to fit in somewhere.
Yeah.
We never want to feel like we're alone. You know, we want to be with the crowd. It's safe. It's in our DNA to want to be safe. You know, because in ancient times, if you were alone, you're dead.
In your comedy, how much this accent and creating this accent have created people to know more about the culture or love it or offended up?
And he'll be insulted. He'll be like, it smells. I don't like. Why would you? You know, like anyone is so. It's so easy to offend someone. And I think when I realized that really helped me with my content. When I realized that it's not me who's offending them. You know, when you detach yourself from the subject, your life becomes so much happier, because I know I'm not offending them. There's something within them that they're getting offended with, whether it's an old trauma, whether it's something that socially they're agreeing to now, whatever it is. It's not me. I am the delivery of it, but I am not the message.
Like you said, my parents are divorced is offending somebody. Exactly. It's actually my problem. It's not your problem.
But even you take that outwards, like when I do accents, people go like, that's racist. I'm like, okay, let's define racism first. What is an imitation doing racism? Like you're displaying cultures in a negative light. I'm like, I'm doing it for people to laugh. I'm not disrespecting. I'm not, using any political things, nor religious, nor taboo. Like I am doing a persona that I have created in my head who's not real. It's just a character. If there was a character on a cartoon who's doing these accents, what would you say? If you don't know the person behind it, it's a cartoon. How would you know? So racism is what? It's when you have a prejudice and you take that prejudice out on people, right? Whether it's physically, verbally, whatever, or you display something in a negative light on purpose, right? I'm doing accents that are these characters I made up in my head that are a combination of people and surroundings and little pickups that I've got from traveling around. And I try to do it to create a nostalgic feeling of people who grew up here, or an entertaining thing for people who don't know what's going on. Now, accents is one thing I do. I also do many other things that are entertaining, but no, they don't find that racist, right? So I say, okay, it's not racist. We can check that off. What's the next thing you can say? Like, I don't understand the people who get offended and they get angry. You can get offended and not like. This is more than okay, right? You can unfollow me, you can block me, you can report me, you can do whatever you want. I don't have to be in your life. I don't have to be in your face. But my problem is, I seem to I seem to not understand why people refuse to look at the overall picture within themselves. You know, like, it's easy to find something like, that's racist. Okay, what does that have to do with you? Like, what am I doing that's making it trigger you? You know, like, if you say something to me and I get offended or I get upset, I don't need to think of why he said this to me. I need to think of why I'm hurt by it, you know? So I don't understand why people don't have a second to just think, is it really him that I'm angry at, or is it me that I'm angry at? Or is there something that is not changing? Let's say racism, which is a very sensitive topic. Racism is not changing as a whole. So you might look at me like, oh, you're making it worse. But in reality, I'm not. It's just entertainment. It's meant to be. Entertainment is to escape your reality. It's not to connect you to your reality. That's why I don't. If you look at my entire page, none of it is based in reality. There are skits that are maybe close to home. Like, I do this Indian father-son skit where he's always disappointed with the son. That's still, the characters aren't real. The characters are me. The conversations are not real.
But it's a real
scenario.
Scenarios that we always see, and
Yes.
we never criticize, or we never criticize, or we never point it out, you know, and put it in comedy. But everything you said is there, is like in our daily life, and we see it.
So it's like, you take these scenarios and you exaggerate them, and that is entertainment. You take a movie, the guy gets shot and he's like, wow, he ties it up, he takes a fire thing, and he goes fight again. Like, that's not real, but you're not offended by that. So that's the whole point of entertainment. You're supposed to take things, exaggerate them, so it appeals. It's supposed to be almost like a fantasy, like a what if. Because you, in your mind, you have a lot of what ifs, but you don't do them. And someone very close to me told me that the comedy I make is very on the nose. It's right in front of you. It's not like I'm pulling something from the mystical ways and everyone's like, I don't understand this. It's very obvious. It's stuff that you want to think or want to say, but you're not saying it. And a lot of people I meet, they're like, oh, bro, I do accents as well, but I could never. I'm like, why you could never? They're like, yeah, there's too much, you know, people will say I'm racist. And I was like, but that's the thing. The more people that get involved with expressing themselves in a comedic way, the more normal it becomes. Like, let's say racism in America, let's say in the 50s and 60s, or even earlier, let's say in the 40s, just after World War, like World War ends, and now you have this huge movement for African American rights. It was okay to be racist to them, right? They dehumanize them, right? But now if you take it on the far extreme, and you put people together who want to make light of heavy situations, it becomes normal. So it's not like you're taking a topic and making it less respected, or you're taking away from it. In our region, we don't do the same racism as the Western side. We have a very different side of racism in this world.
Yeah.
But what I'm doing is I'm not trying to offend, right? And I used to do some accents that I didn't like. And one person was like, bro, like, if you're going to do it right. And I was like, 100%. So I stopped doing it until I learned how to do it. Iranian was one of them. Until I could do it properly, I would do it properly. So you almost cannot address the fact of racism when I not study, but I live with, you know, I lived in an Indian home for a while. I stayed in an ashram for 14 days. Like, I spent time with the people. It wasn't a research thing. It was my own little journey I was going through. But you learn, you hear, you pick up the mannerisms, the exchange, you're living with people, right? So you come back and you have that insight, and it's not like I'm doing it on purpose. It's sitting in the back of my head. It's just coming out when I'm doing things. I don't write any scripts. I don't prepare. Even my comedy shows, they're like an hour long. I don't prepare anything. And you see it. And one guy commented, he's like, I was disappointed in the show. All he was doing was making up shit on the spot. I'm like, you know, people like pay for people to improvise. But I get it. But the point is,
when you talk about like specific topics or sensitive topics, you're actually normalizing it. You're making it, you know, when
openly discussed, you can discuss it more,
which is the opposite of racism. It's like when you talk now, they joke about racism in America, and now people are like, okay, that's fine, we can joke about it. I mean, it was a taboo, but we can open and talk about it because it's
vice versa. Now you can't talk about it. That's the problem. Like my point, what I was trying to get at was that I'm not trying to say like we take a topic and we make jokes of it so it's less important, but when you normalize discussing a topic, you open up this horizon for more minds to contribute to the solution. So when you can't address anything, you're limiting yourself to a certain demographic, which are probably very extremists. But when you talk about something, let's say the topic of racism, I'm not joking about racism. I'm just doing something and someone's labeling it as racism. But I'm labeling it as what? Comedy, because that's my intention. What's more important, your perception or my intention? My intention, because I'm creating something. You're just criticizing something. So when I'm trying to discuss something, I'm trying to open up the horizon for everyone to chip in. Whether it's right or wrong, you're opening up the chances, because when you have a broader audience, you're now opening yourself up to allow or political or governmental barrier. This is something I have no interest in doing.
Shawn, aren't you sometimes worried about the edge, the limit that you can cross?
It's a good question, because the line, no one knows where the line is until someone's crossed it.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't know where you are, and then you do something that you think is okay, and then you're like, you shouldn't have it. So yes, there is a bit of worry there, but we also live in a place that has created so much safety that you can almost do whatever you want. Now, there's a very easy rule of thumb in where we live, right? It's just don't be disrespectful. It's we as Arabs, we have a very common understanding in this region. Respect for one's religion, respect for one's country, respect for one's family are things you don't cross, you know? So I just consider, for example, Dubai is like my best friend. We've known each other since I was born. Really. What would I do to maybe not my best friend, because my best friend and I, we have a terrible way of speaking to each other.
Okay.
But let's say it's a very close friend of mine who I respect. What would I do in that person's house? That's the only thing I say. If his family is with me, I'll still joke. I'll be open. I'll be loud. I'll be happy. I'll be myself. But would I say something to insult the father or the mother? Definitely not. Would I even take a chance in joking in that direction? Maybe just to see, but never to a point where it's insultive or disrespecting. And like I myself, if I feel like I've posted something that I enjoy, but I take a second look at it, I'm like, maybe it's not the right, I'll take it down. Because for me, the whole point of making content is to make people happy. And if I have an audience who's been loyal, maybe is the wrong word, but they've been supporting me for 10,000 people or 5,000 people or 30 people. Hatta 200 people is what I always wanted, because 200 people fills up a room, and that's comedy. That's a comedy club. Comedy clubs are 50 people, 100 people, 200 people. It's like a small room. That's all I wanted. Whether the page grows or not, this is a different story. But that being said, you literally just, the rule of thumb is just don't be disrespectful, you know. And you have to know where you are. You have to know the rules of where you are. You have to understand that there are certain rules that apply. Like you can go to America, where the land of the free, home of the brave, you know, the very patriotic, and you say the wrong word that here is very normal. You say whatever you want, like it's very normal here. Like me and you will say to each other, you go to America, you say something, and it's like they're going to put you on a stake and tie you up and put you on fire. And it's like a mug. It can be mug. Like we don't say mug there, you know. Like it's
you have to see each country. And
literally in UK they call cigarettes, I won't say it to be safe, but what they call cigarettes in the UK, in America they think it's a homophobic term.
Okay.
Cigarettes, homophobia, two separate worlds. So you really have to learn where you are. And here is a very easy place, right? The UAE has structured the country to be as safe as possible, as functioning as possible. They've studied every other country in the world, and they tried to make this place the best that they could. And it's given so many people the opportunity to explore themselves and express themselves, and some people take it a bit too far. I personally don't know if I take it too far. all I'm trying to do is make people laugh. I'm not trying to do anything negative. So if I do ever cross that line, I highly doubt it, because my intention is always to make people happy. And on the contrary, I want to, like, Dubai is already super famous, right? But I want to show the other light of Dubai. Everyone thinks Dubai is like flashy car, Dubai bling. I've never watched it, but everyone thinks Dubai is Dubai bling, which it's not. There's so much culture, there's so much history. Like
there is Jumeirah juice.
Much like that. Dubai bling is like the 1.0111% here. Like even the people who are even wealthier than these others, they don't live like that. And like I grew up with a lot of people here who come from very big families. They don't live anything like that. They're very humble, normal.
It is
people.
One side of Dubai. It is a side of Dubai.
It is. Yeah. It's not. They're not showing. They're not faking anything. There's a lot of reality in that. But there's so much more to that, you know. And I'm not saying like, oh yeah, but there's the dune bashing and the clubs. Like, fine, this is what entertainment. But you're forgetting how people meet here. I'm talking about the nuances of life. The ability to say whatever you want to each other and be in a safe space where you can, like, now my car is downstairs, it's unlocked. I forgot to lock it, but I'm not like, oh, shit, I need to go back. My wallet is inside. I know it's okay. Now it's probably a stupid move, but I know it's okay. Like, it's just, in general, it's good to keep your stuff safe. But the city has allowed me to be here talking to you very comfortably.
Yes.
Without worrying about this. It's also such a dense place where people come. It's because it's such a hot spot. People come, they travel all over the world to come to Dubai. And because of that, I met someone who got me a show in Chicago. And it was the first time I did stand-up in America, which was my dream as a kid. But I thought when I go to America to do stand-up, that means I made it. I am Dave Chappelle. I'm Kevin Hart. I'm Bernie Mac. I'm like the king of comedy if I make it to America. But it was
Louis C.K.
Louis C.K. But it was a nice show. It was about 250 people. It was a nice big venue, but it wasn't like Madison Square Garden where I sold out a stadium. So it allowed me, because I was here, a very small spot. I knew someone who knew someone who knew someone. This guy came. He said, "Oh, you should meet this guy," and we connected. We became good friends, and then next thing I knew, I was in America. And that's a very Dubai thing. Small place, very good connections, good network. People like each other. You can tell when someone isn't being authentic, and people usually, they're either in groups of inauthentic people all together, or it's a small group of very authentic people together. Rarely they mix. Maybe there's one who bounces back and forth, but that's the thing. It allows you to connect to people like this, and you can say, okay, I don't want to be with this group. I don't want to be with this group. That's my guy. Like, we're together, and then he connects you to other people. And me, my friend group, I have a friend who's like 15, who's my friend's brother, and I have a friend who is 55 and recently divorced. And when I say, I mean friend, like we have coffee, like we catch up. Like, my friend groups are very diverse, and I love that. I love that I have friends in every age group, because it allows me to, it acknowledges for me that I have a child in me. I have a teenager in me. I have a young adult. I have an older adult. I have an older man. I have this all sounds very wrong, but but it allows me to sit with almost anyone and be able to connect.
Yes.
And I think it's at least for me, it's uniquely here, because it's a very dense place with a lot of people moving in and out, and it allows you to meet a lot of people. So I think going back to what you're saying, that line, you don't know when you cross it, yes, but at the same time, you can kind of sense when you're getting too close to fire. You feel some heat, like, okay, maybe.
But you said something perfect, and everyone should do is, we should learn about this country. We should know each country, not only Dubai, like any country we live in.
100%.
We should understand it and understand the rules.
Yeah.
What is actually offensive? What's not? What's make people happy in this? There's something nice about you is, like, I don't know what's your nationality, and most people, unless they ask you or you said it somewhere, they don't know what's the nationality. Now I know, actually.
Yeah.
But I was like doubting, which is something nice.
I love it. I love that people don't know.
I thought you're Egyptian first.
Of course. It's Dr. Ahmed. He right here now. Now I'm Egyptian. For you, I'm Egyptian now. And then I'll switch. And I'm Indian.
Yes. And then Iranian is like so funny.
Iranian? No, from Iran. Okay. It does not matter where I'm from. Okay. I want you to like me for me. Whether I'm Iran, whether I'm Egypt, whether I'm Philippines, whether I'm Arab.
But you study the character not only with the accent, the way you dress, the accessories, the things, the behavior.
That one is an exaggeration for sure. That I will say, this Persian prince character, his name is Farzad. Okay, he is completely the first time I ever really put effort into a character. I took my Halloween costume stuff, like the rings. I took the gold chains, my sister's like plastic.
I'm trying not to laugh.
and it's based off one of my friends. Like he's not like that, but he knows a lot of people like that. So him and I would always joke around. We would meet his friends, and it's this character is really like started from it's a genuine creation, you know. It's a real, like, it's not like a masterpiece, but like it's like it's my one of my favorite meals I've ever cooked, you know. But yeah, this character, like Persian Prince, had been like, so I'm quite shy, contrary to what anyone thinks. I'm super shy, very introverted. I had a shoot with I'm trying not to a food. It was a food shoot in Dubai Mall. And I was supposed to be this character, Persian Prince. Now I dress very plain. Like, this is the most colorful thing you'll see. My closet is literally black, white, black, maybe a little bit of color in between. My suits are all black, and maybe one is like dark blue. Like, I don't want to think about what I wear. I just want to put it and go. So I tend to not focus a lot on fashion, and I don't like people going, because I see everyone, they start judging the shoes, they like, don't look at me. Like, I'll be plain, don't look at me. So when I went to Dubai Mall, I had to go to the shoot. I had to be dressed in Farzad. So obviously it's tight pants, rolled up, blue loafers, like blue loafers with like a beige tie, button up, amis like tucked in, open, my chest hairs out, gold chain, gold, hair slicked back, and glasses on. And I was walking through the entire mall up to where the restaurant was, dressed like this. And I did not care at all, because I was in character. I was even walking like with my shoulders, like my chest like this, like, what you have problem? What you want to look at? You want picture? Like, I had no, well, me, I tried to like be as, but that character is like, I'm literally like bipolar. Like, I get out of my head
in the character.
And and people were looking and laughing, and I was looking at them, and I'm like I was in that character. So when I'm in that mode, specifically this Persian Prince character, it really shifts my whole like energy. Like, I don't know why. All my characters, I bring out something. I feel like I'm that character, but him specifically, he's my confidence wall. If I ever want to feel confidence, I go, what would Persian Prince do? Like, he's not afraid of anything. He'll sit and confront you. He has no problem.
It's amazing. It's viral. I mean, let's talk about the food delivery guy, the one in the
cafeteria?
Car, the cafeteria.
Which one? There's the Egyptian one, there's the Indian one.
The Indian is like, it's crazy. It's amazing.
Assalamu alaikum, you need menu?
It's the cash card thing.
Cash card. Yeah, I don't know why everyone, it's people, you never know what people are going to enjoy in a video. And people really enjoyed like the cash card thing, which just, I stuttered. I didn't know what I was saying, like, because I don't prepare these. So I'm on the spot and...
Because he told him card, but he said cash card. Again, it's like both of them are okay for
There's one where I took off his Apple Watch, and I was like, Apple Pay, and I took it, and like these, because they're all impromptu, they're all improvised on the spot, so you never know what's gonna happen. But yeah, this cash card, the cash card, and spicy coming. So many people, like yesterday I went out for the first time in a long time, and like 3 people stopped me. They're like, spicy coming? I was like, spicy.
And the 100 option, you know,
the full. But that's real. You open up the menu in these cafeterias and you see like 500 options, and there's like Lexus juice, there's Burj Khalifa juice, there's Abood juice, there's so many things. And these cafeteria videos though, they're very niche, very, very niche. Like, this won't go out. I know which content is meant for the world and which content is just for the people who have been in the Middle East.
Yes, that's so the audience, mostly your audience is in Dubai, because they understand these jokes very well.
It's 14% is in UAE, which is strange because it used to be 98% UAE.
Yeah, but you said you picked up on some jokes that are international, and I was doubting whether it's international or not. But like the sewing
that one went, that
equipment.
One. Yeah.
I don't know if it's international. I thought only my grandmother does
me
that.
Me too. I thought it was only like an Arab thing, you know.
Yeah.
And then you see the comments, and people are commenting from all over the world, like all over the world. And that's the thing. There's 2 videos that went like that. There's one where I was in Egypt. I was working there, and I went to the museum, and there was the ship, the slippers, and they had a collection of them, like the old ones, the ancient ones, and they had the few that curved. And so I made a joke. I was like, "This is for ancient Egyptian mother. Say she throw and have boomerang, and then it hit you on the head." And I thought it's only gonna be us, like we who understand it. People started commenting from Mexico, they're like, oh, we call this chancletas, and where I'm from, yeah, my grandma, the same thing. And so so there are certain things that you never really expect, that you don't know who's gonna go to, but then it goes.
So when something goes so viral, and does this like kind of like affect you in a way that I want to create, I want to like create something that goes
That's that
viral.
again.
Yeah, and then affects your writing or your.
I don't
your
write.
comment.
That's the good thing. So how can it affect me if I don't prepare? Like, in order for that to affect you, you have to have a previous formula before, because that's a plug-in, right? The formula of like, okay, you write content, you film, you shoot, you edit, and then you post.
Yeah.
So then the virality will be like, oh, okay, this worked. Okay, now I can start writing about this more. But in order to do that, you need to start writing, which I don't do. Like, so it can't affect it. The only thing it does affect me is in the way of going like, I didn't know that worked. But then you move on, because what goes viral today is gone. It's gone. It's not there anymore. It's on my page now. Yes, the sewing thing, but the person who watched it 2 days ago forgot about it. And it's my most successful video. It's like 16 million shares or views, and I don't know how many shares, whatever. And it's my most. But then again, the one person who watched me followed it because they found it funny. Saw my other content, they're like, "What is this?" And then they unfollowed.
Totally different. But don't you think, Shawn, that because in comedy, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's very well staged, especially in USA. It's very well staged. It's very well written, and there is a punchline.
Yeah.
And
it's very well structured.
Structured. Yeah. It's a science.
I don't know how to do it. That's something I'm willing to learn. I want to be, because I'm taking this seriously now. I'm really trying to. I'm doing shows more regularly. I'm organizing open mic nights once a month. I'm doing like proper stage shows. Also trying to do it maybe once every 2 months. And I want to learn. I just don't know where to go to learn this. I was in America recently, so I should have probably took a comedy class there. But for me, the whole point of comedy is that it's so raw and it's so natural. Like, that's the one thing I hate about comedy, is that I know it's scripted, and I appreciate it because it's a performance, and it's like a very like there's a guy, I won't use his name for if he doesn't want me to use it, but he is one of the original people who brought comedy to the Middle East, as per putting them on TV shows, as per creating a network for something comedy on your TV, for bringing big comedians here. He was responsible for that, and I had a coffee with him 2 weeks ago, and he told me that for you to create a proper skit, like a proper script, for your stand-up, you are preparing a symphony. You are a musician in this sense, and people go to concerts to hear the songs that they love. And I was like, but in comedy, doesn't that mean when you tell me a joke and I laughed, it's spent. It's not. It's like charcoal. You use it to cook something, but the second you light it, it's gone. Like, when it burns out, it's done. So he told me that yes, that's the case, but most times people will bring other people, and they'll wait for that joke. They'll wait for that thing. They're like, they'll tell
wait
them
for it.
Yeah. And that changed my mind. That's what made me go like, okay, I'll take this more seriously, and I'll probably start to learn, because my shows, for anyone who's been there, they know, like, you see me, I'm on stage, and I literally, I'm holding the microphone, I'm like, what should we talk about? Like, where are you from? And then where are you from? And then like I start to talk to people.
But actually, I do laugh on some jokes like 2-3 times, especially if it's from like Dave Chappelle, because there's not only the punchline, which I know that it's we're getting to the punchline, but the performance, you would watch the comedy show many times. I don't know if it's with all comedy or with all comedian, but I watch what's his name? We just said his name.
Louis C.K.
Louis C.K. like many times.
Yeah.
Like the same show many times.
Louis C.K. is hilarious.
And I laugh. So I don't know.
There are some comics who you can watch over and over. Like back in the day, I used to watch Russell Peters. So Russell Peters and Dave Chappelle were always on repeat for me. Whatever I'm doing, I'm cleaning my room, I'm playing PlayStation. They were on YouTube, and they were just playing. So to the point where I could do the whole thing. Like, I would say the joke with him. Like, especially Russell Peters, like, when his dad's like, is somebody gonna get hurt really bad? Like, I would not even be looking, and I know somebody gonna, like, I know where his eye is. I know what he's doing. I know how he's holding the microphone. So it just always used to be in my head. And there are some comics whose jokes you want to hear again. And that's what makes me go like, okay, this is potentially something I can do. in that sense where I'm not, I hate the word repeating jokes, but yeah, essentially using the same.
There is a structure, and yeah. But tell me, how do you feel in front of live audience? Like
it's amazing. It's amazing. I get so nervous. Like, and when I did my show in America, I think I went like, excuse my language, I took a shit 5 times in 1 hour. There was nothing left. My stomach is like, Habibi, there's nothing here. I'm telling you, there's nothing. But I was just nervous. And that's all the time. I get so nervous. Like, I don't know what it is, but I never get over it. Like, and I've done a few shows now, and it's the same thing. I'll prepare myself mentally, and I'll be okay, good, we'll organize a show. And then the closer it gets to the date, like, I start sweating. Like, there's a show on the 21st this month, and now I'm okay. But the weekend before it, from then till now, I'll be stressing. And then I'll get on stage and I'll freeze for a second. And then the second I crack one word, I'm like, okay, we're alive, we're here. Look around and like, but I don't even feel like I remember anything when I'm on stage. Like, when I get off, I don't know what I said. I don't know what I did. I don't. When you are conscious of what you're doing, you're really engaging with, like, you're talking to one person. It's like me and you're talking like this, but there's, let's say 149 other people around you who are watching this conversation happen. So you have a very good live connection with someone, even if they're heckling, even if they're saying shit to you, or they're yelling, or they're swearing, or they're like, you're connecting with someone. How you decide to deal with that is up to you. But it's a beautiful way, because if I make you laugh, I see your face like light up, you know? And when you make everyone laugh, I swear to God, the room changes color for me. When I see everyone start laughing, the clouds around them start to change. And I always find one person who's not like laughing when someone's just like this. And there's always one person.
Is that like that negative comment that you see it?
Yeah.
Out of 99
and you see it in person this time. And so and this is the time that I can address it, because now you came here to see me. There's a reason why you're here. Either someone brought you, but you decided to be here today. No one put you in a headlock and said, come on. You came, grown ass person. And I'm like, you, what's wrong with you? And then everyone always knows when it's them. Then it's me. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's you. Now you're like gonna show some emotion. And then they're like, you're not bullying them or not anything, but you're calling them out and letting them recognize that they're not happy. Why are you not being happy? Okay, you might not find it funny, but like, be happy where you are. You know, try to crack that little stone that you're in. So it's and if you're not funny, I can see it, that it's not funny. So it's also for me to go, maybe the joke isn't good, or that person doesn't like it. But that's something you have to decide after. But yeah, what makes you laugh won't make him laugh.
Yeah, or maybe he's not ready.
Maybe it's a bad day.
Yeah, it's a bad day.
So it also teaches you to try to not take things personally. You know, because a lot of comedians who take things personally, it looks bad. It looks very bad. You know, if someone heckles and they get angry and they're like blah blah blah. Sometimes they're in their right and it's fine, but like, you're supposed to be a professional. You know, even if it's like an amateur comedy, you're supposed to have something that someone else doesn't have, and that should be composure under pressure. Like, you should try to not lose. And this is obviously, it's a lot easier to say it. Like, I haven't been able to. I did when I had a heckler. I think I did okay with them. But yeah, it's about, you have to learn to be still who you are under a lot of pressure.
Crocodile skin, yeah.
Not even. You need like dinosaur skin. You need like full armor. And it's not even that. You need to be able to identify, do you hurt the person, or do you take it in, make a joke, diffuse it entirely, or do you come hard? Like, it depends on the situation. I tend to want to make things very soft, and like, because I want everyone to have a good time. And when you see the comic getting angry, that's coming outwards. You know, when the comic is nervous, everyone feels nervous.
Yeah.
You will always feel what you're watching. And no one really remembers what you say. And there's, I think Maya Angelou, this is a very famous quote from her. No one will remember what you say, no one will remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And if you leave the show, you might not remember what I said, but if I made you feel uncomfortable, you'll be like, yeah, we went to that show, it wasn't too good, I felt blah, blah. But if you leave the show and I was funny and you had a great time, like, oh, this was amazing, I had the best time. And so it's very subjective, and I'm trying to learn that everyone will have a different opinion, a different experience, and that I have to detach from their experience. It's theirs. Whether they like it or not, it might be a reflection on what I need to improve or do or whatever, but it's not the truth. It's their truth, and then I have my own truth. Because I can maybe do the same show 10 times in a row. Maybe out of 10 of them, 9 are good, 1 is terrible, no one laughs, everyone's whatever. But maybe it's the audience or it's me. Again, you have to do the analysis. Is it that I was exhausted and it's the 10th show and I was done, or was it the first show and I didn't know what I was doing? Or was it in the middle where I tried to change something? It's a lot of, like in life, yeah, go to other people's stand-up shows. I'm like, no. If I want to test something, I'll test it my way, which is going all in, calling the venue, organizing it myself, calling the comedians, getting the videographers, setting up everything, doing the marketing. Like I'll handle everything from A to Z to see if I can do it, number one. Number two, learn how to do it myself. And number three, if I scale this up, I be able to identify if they're messing around. Because you know, if you know how to do something yourself, you can tell when someone's not doing it right. And I want to be able to have a team one day that can be like on the spot, and I know that they know, because if I see something that can easily be done that they're not doing it, I'll be like, okay, you're trying to play with me, like, and I don't like this. And so the only way you can find this out is by actually testing.
You can test it on a small audience, and actually this is what all the big comedians, this is what they do. They run shows everywhere, and they keep on like rewriting again and removing the bad joke and putting the better one. And it keeps like by the time when they do a Netflix show,
it's perfect.
It's really perfect. It's been like totally different script that they wrote. Shawn, you told me, I don't know if I can say this, but you left your job, and now it's like, my question is, do you feel like now you can make money out of your comedy, your Instagram, your...
There's definitely different ways to make money. I'm not limiting myself to like ads and comedy, but this is something I'm passionate about. And I had so many arguments and so many conversations with people since I was a kid. I started working when I was very young. I started when I was 12, 13. And I was working in a restaurant. Since 13 till now, I've been working on and off, some summers in, some winters out, like depends. But I've went from jobs of sales, marketing, consulting, restaurant, kitchen, for like back end, front end management, marketing it, operations. I did below the line sales. I did data management for a startup company, which was like returning lost items. I worked for Red Bull for a little bit. Like I've done like so many different types of jobs, and every single job I hated. I hated myself, not the job. I hated myself. I hated the fact that I wasn't where I wanted to be, and I didn't even know where I wanted to be. So I knew I had to be in places that I didn't want to be to finally know I don't want to be there. I want to be here. And in the end of the day, I'm going to try my best to not fall back into because it's very easy to make money for someone else. Super easy. It's hard to make money for yourself. And like I realized I spent in some of my companies, I spent till maybe 1-2 a.m. working on a project. For what? To get like a salary, and then the project is done, khalas, you get a pat on the back, or you get can we amend these, and like, for what? So if I can spend 2 a.m. for someone else's business, why not spend 5 a.m. for my business? And I want to grow my own entity where I can create not awareness like I'm this, guru, peace and love, and like I'm not gonna say like I'm an angel, but I want to create awareness while I can make money for myself. And I think people who people choose either or. They say either I want to be like filthy rich, or I want to be humanitarian, I want to save the world. Can you not do both? Can you not make your money and get exposure to things that need getting exposure to? Can you not support communities that need supporting while you're making your money? And I think people are they want to seem perfect, and I'm far from perfect. I am severely damaged, and I'm working on open wounds, and it's a life journey. There's no end goal. It's just continuously evolving. So my life goal is to make money and make an impact, and my money will change my family's life. It'll change my life. It'll give me a life, to continue living, and my impact will change the world hopefully one day, in even if it's just making some people smile. And I think that's the next step to take. How it materializes is still under process, but I'm confident when you are willing to give up everything for what you believe. And I genuinely believe the world needs to laugh more, even if it's not the full world, even if it's just my world here where I've been raised in the UAE. Even if this is just my world, I'm happy.
And you said you care a lot about meditation and
you did
mental
your research.
health.
You did your research. Bravo, good. A lot of people have a podcast, they don't know what anything is. So this is very good. This is very good.
Which is an amazing topic that I feel like now, after I know you, it's coming from inside. It's something that we express for ourselves because we need it, and it heals other people and educates other people. What are the topics that you really love to talk about other than comedy?
The topics, like first and foremost, history and food.
Okay.
I love history, ancient history, specifically like Arab history. I love talking about food. I can talk about food for years, cooking it, eating it, restaurants, where to go. This, I will die. I will die before I can finish speaking. Cars, I am a massive car enthusiast. I'm proper petrol head. Like I will drink gasoline if I have. If I can.
Which car do you like?
And literally, like any V8 that's like a naturally aspirated V8, it has my heart. Even if it's not a very nice car, any naturally aspirated V8 that is like a good sounding engine will always have my heart. And I used to have, like, my car crush used to be an SLR, the old SLR, Mercedes SLR.
The Mercedes.
And then in 2014, Mercedes came out with the C63 Black Series, which was such a beautiful car. I mean, I could never afford it at times. So I had a friend who had the car, and I was like, I would ask him just to like take a video just so I can hear the exhaust. And there was an old M5 with like a big fat V10. So like I like cars that are, they don't look the best. Like the C63, like the 2014 C63 doesn't look the best. It has a mean look with the Black Series is nice, but it doesn't have a mean look. But the sound made you feel like you were connected to the car, you know, like. But when I talk about like performance cars, it's a difference. Like I can't pick. There's so many.
Do you
cars,
like Porsche?
I love Porsche. I mean, if I had to pick one of those, it would be the 918. Like that for me, it's their best car. Their 918 is their masterpiece. Or like an old classic Targa, like the old manual ones. They're super nice. I used to love the old Cayenne, the old GTS, the 2014 as well GTS, because it had the nicest sounding engine. But in terms of like handling and performance, like there's no perfect car. I think every car has its like a really its specialty. Yeah, you know.
Yes.
Like,
and how do you feel about electric cars then? Tesla or
I have mixed feelings. I think everyone should get whatever they want. Like a friend of mine was like asking me for recommendations. I was like, yeah, get whatever you want. They said, you want Tesla, get Tesla. But I don't like people who buy it for reasons that aren't real. You know, if someone says it's better for the environment, do you know what they do in the cobalt mines? Like, to get enough material, the conductive metals, to
make the batteries,
and the circuit boards of these like cars. Like, if you think that's helping the environment, go to the mines in Africa and in Congo and see the children who are in backpacks of their mothers who are digging through sand. And like, if you think you're making an impact because you're taking an electric car,
you're actually charging it from electric.
So the infrastructure
from a station that is taking from fuel,
and the infrastructure of these stations require, like, everything requires fuel. So it's not, I think we're making the right steps forward, but I don't like when people try to disguise truths. Get a car because you want to test a car, you want it to drive itself, or you want to have a Tesla, whatever. It's your right, it's fine. Like, if you get a burger, I'm not gonna be like, ew, like it's your, it's your own preference, but don't disguise it. I hate when people are not honest with me. Like, with my soul, if you ask me what's my one thing from people I respect, is honesty. Tell me you hate me, tell me you don't like me, swear at me, do the worst thing, but tell me to my face. And so when people like disguise the thing, like, this is better for the environment, and I'm doing my responsibility, I'm like, shut up. Like, you're just getting an electric car because, like, fine, but buy it so you can help the economy and say, okay, we're selling more, do it. But you're really not helping the environment. You're like, don't get it twisted. And also, maintaining an electric car is so much harder because you can't go to any garage. Now my car breaks, okay, I can literally go to Al Khoz, like in 5 minutes from here, any garage. Maybe they're not the best one, but they'll know what to do, or the garage next to them will know, or they'll have a part for me. If you go to electric cars, you need specific garages for that, including hybrids. You need specific garages for that. But I like electric cars. I think they're cool. I think there are some very fast cars, like the Roadster, the Tesla Roadster is going to come out. It's like 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds or something, or 1.8 seconds. That's ridiculous. So I'm happy for progressive movement in the automotive industry, but for me it shouldn't be a either or situation. It should be both. Continue producing petrol cars, continue producing electric cars. At some point in our life, we will reach a stage where petrol cars are the niche, and it'll become like how electric cars are now. And then you'll have specialty garages for petrol cars rather than electric cars. It'll flip. But until then, I'm gonna drive my car
Yes.
with my foot down and hear my V8. Like, you know.
Okay, so you love cars, you love food. What
Yeah.
else you talk about in your podcast?
Meditation, philosophy, mental health, and literally anything. It's a very like I was very inspired by Joe Rogan, how he has like scientists on, he has comedians, he has fighters on, he has everyone. So I was like, why do I have to be a niche? I'm just me. I'm interested in these topics, but a lot of people obviously connect to like mental health. Meditation is like, some people do it, some people don't. There's a lot of misconceptions about it. But the way I talk about mental health isn't really the traditional way of it. You know, I feel like when people mention mental health, they become very like, ooh, you know, it's a very soft thing, and they're like, everything matters, and let's journal every 5 seconds, and this is how you should do it. And there's so many steps on how you do mental health that it kind of loses the way, and it becomes exhausting to do. Mental health is like a mental workout, right? So it is tiring, it is going to be exhausting, but it should be like I was saying, mental fortitude is the thing you need to do as well, right? You need to put yourself in a position where not only are you addressing the pain and the discomfort and the conflict, whether it's thoughts of suicide, thoughts of hurting other people, thoughts of hurting yourself, depression, anger, whatever it is. In this whole balance of what is used to create the equation of mental health, there needs to be mental fortitude. You can come and tell me, Shawn, the way you heal from childhood trauma is by journaling every day and telling yourself you love yourself and saying no to other people and putting boundaries. And okay, cool, that's great. Now you told me how to do it, but how do I become resistant when I start doing it? You know, when I tell someone no and I put a boundary for myself and say no, that discomfort will more likely have me say, but we can, no, okay, come over, let's wait. You'll break that boundary if it's not supported with a structure. So mental fortitude, I think, is for the people who don't have the time or the energy or the strength to keep on doing this, like putting boundaries, and because it's exhausting. And yes, it is a workout, and it's never an end goal. You're always creating more for yourself. There needs to be like a very simple solution to this, which I believe is just not being a about it. Which is just like, which a lot of people are be a complete all-round awareness, especially where we live, like in the Middle East. It's not too, like, the UAE has done a good job because they've actually put it more into the culture, and that, you know, therapy is more open here. Like they've done a good job at it, but in general it's not the most talked about discussion. And I think the most important thing is have the tools, be aware of your mental situation, understand how your mental situation affects others, understand how it's affecting you, most importantly, first and foremost, but then also study the tools for what you are going through. Listen to other people's stories, but then realize that as you act out with the tools that have been given you, you don't need to dig so deep. Sometimes you do, but if you're going to go down that hole, make sure you do it professionally. Go with a therapist, go with a guidance, go with a friend. Don't go in alone, because if you don't know how to bring yourself out, you get stuck. If you ever experienced pure joy, you will experience pure pain. No good comes without bad, and no bad comes without good. In order to feel happy, you need to know what sad is. So this counterbalance of each other, it exists. It's the harmony of life. If you were happy all the time, it would just be normal to you. If you were sad all the time, it would just be how you normally feel. So there needs to be, and you need to know what happiness is to know what sadness is, and vice versa. So for me, when I reach that stage where I've identified what made me upset, and that I know that potentially this cycle will come back again, I'm more excited to jump on the happiness, because I'm like, okay, this shit's coming back at some point, so let me be happy until then.
I mean, what you said, it relates to 90% of people. It's all about loving yourself. It's all about stop seeking for acceptance from others, and don't link your happiness with other people. Because it just becomes like, okay, am I do I exist, and do they like me, and it's just like it's a childhood thing that nobody took your opinion when you were, so you relate your happiness to
that's a good point
to others, and that's why you don't want to say no to them, and you don't want to leave them, and they can be toxic, and usually they are toxic because you attach to people who are toxic because you want to prove that, okay, they don't like me because maybe there's something wrong with me. No, maybe they are toxic or they are wrong. So you try your best to make them happy.
Yeah.
And you don't want to leave this relationship. Shawn, want to talk more, but you want to leave, and thanks for coming. I mean, I don't know, you said you have something.
I do have this.
It was great talking to you.
Likewise.
And really seeing the person behind the comedy and the jokes, and how you're making people happy from true maybe some difficulties from your childhood, or you wanted to make your mother. I mean, this really affected me so much. As a child, want to help his mom, and he find his talent that's hidden, and he used it to help his mom, and then now to make people happy outside. Amazing, man. Bravo.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you very much.
وحياة الله. Thanks a lot.